I think there's that stigma that's put into your brain at a young age, especially for boys, about being vulnerable and being open about your emotions in a way that is really unhealthy.
Growing up, I was really big into things like World War II. I mean, big surprise there, white guy and interested in World War II. But I was reading an article recently about how when Saving Private Ryan premiered, all of these veterans from World War II were there, and they were these old men, and they were considered the greatest generation. And there was one of the anecdotal stories was in the theater they had like posters for trauma resources and counselors, and one of the things that was noted is that these men, they just ignored that. They were like, okay, that was traumatic, I just relived that experience in the theater, I'm going to go home now. And that's just what men did. And as a young person that grew up experienced that kind of media, you internalize that.
If your self-worth is tied up with you being a provider or you being perceived as strong, the moment that those things become in question, it can be really harmful.
A lot of black men are raised by their mothers. My dad worked a lot. He worked like Monday through Friday. By no means absent, but just wasn't like there for a lot of the school stuff. So when you have the mom kind of trying to be the disciplinarian and the homemaker and stuff at the same time, she's going to lean towards the extremes when she needs to. And especially if she's raising like young men who got to be tough already, like the last thing she really is going to want to have them display is quote unquote like softness.
If I were to say to you, picture someone who's considering suicide, we all have a picture of what that looks like. But the truth is, again, there is no look, there is no one thing.
Think of depression and sadness, we think of like very low energy and just being down and sadness and crying and all that stuff. More and more we're finding out that men don't really experience depression that way necessarily. It's a lot of acting out and lashing out.
Suicide prevention includes so many steps before that. It's not just crisis intervention. It's, again, do you have access to healthcare? Do you have a community? Do you have a safe place to live? There's many pieces and experiences that people go through up until that point.
I think it is just a matter of getting out and trying to destigmatize therapy and saying, this is normal. It's normal for you to go through problems and issues and face them, and you don't have to do that alone.
Kind of core point of everything we do is that regardless of if you have a diagnosis, whatever it is that's going on, if that thing is harder than it should be, if you're struggling with it, if you don't have the tools that you need, there is something that can help.
I'm really proud to see the strides that we've made in our generation, obviously, but hoping to see more as we get older and have more power and authority in this world.
After a while, man, you gotta know yourself better than anybody else, right? Or a lot of people like to say that. So if you know yourself so well, then you gotta fix yourself after a while. You gotta put the pieces back together.